What's up, everybody? My name is Emmanuel, and I'm the founder and CEO of Unassociated LLC. Looking at the current state of the Black community, I can see a lot of pain, but at the same time, I feel like the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery have ushered in a spirit of Black unity and Black healing for both men and women alike. A few months ago, I had a conversation with a friend named Thompson II. He's a rapper, an actor, poet, pretty much all-around artist out of Baltimore, Maryland. We had a conversation on his journey to self-discovery as a Black man. If you're a Black man, then you know that growing up there's this unspoken criteria of what it took to actually be a Black man. Hypersexual, hyper-masculine, getting all the girls, being the athlete, being the alpha male, whatever it might have been. But the problem is, for a lot of us, checking all these boxes just did not come natural. And because of that, we had a very long, hard journey to self-discovery. I just want to speak to all the Black men that may be watching this. Understand that there is no criteria that you need to fulfill in order to be a Black man. You are that already, and quite honestly, you did not have a choice. And it's something that you should be really proud of. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy part 1 and part 2 of us speaking on this topic. If you know anybody who needs to hear this, please send it to them. If you love it, please like and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Hello, my name is Scott Warren Thompson II. I also go by my stage name, Young Scotto. I am a spoken word poet, hip hop artist, as well as an actor. I go to UCLA as a acting emphasis theater major, and I'm 18 years old, and I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah.
Do you think that exists?
Black and a man, for sure. I feel like there's just a thing where you have to be strong. You have to be kind of hot-headed in a sense.
Like hyper-aggressive.
Yeah, hyper-aggressive.
Sports, football, basketball.
Yeah, masculine. You gotta be good with the chicks or whatever. You can't be like scared. You gotta, like, a lot of the young men that I grew up with, they were very bold and like energetic and abrasive. And I had my own kind of energy, but that's not what I put it into. My parents did a very, I'll say, good job for sure, because I felt like they made sure I didn't grow up too fast like a lot of people around me had to.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate that. That's why I don't hold anything against anybody else. I don't blame my community for making me feel the way I did growing up. I think it's more of just, it shows a reality. And I know there are a lot of people that grew up like me, Black men that grew up like me, that didn't feel like they fit into that category of the masculine, of the athletic, of the really like super outgoing or super attention seeking in a sense, like joke telling, kind of bad sometimes. I definitely, growing up, I was definitely within my main friend group getting like the best grades and things like that, because that was what I was focused on. That's what my parents made sure I was focused on. In the world that we've been pushed into, especially in Baltimore, which is a very dog-eat-dog, like eat or be eaten type of world.
Gotcha.
That's just kind of survival mode tactics that are taught to you from a very early age. Like I said, I was raised in a very safe kind of bubble, in the sense, a world of love, a place where I felt like I was always protected. So I didn't have to have that mindset at an early age where I had to be able to protect myself and I had to always fight.
I think it was really interesting what Scott said about how he didn't really blame the Black community for actually having the criteria they placed on Black men, because it was just a product of what we were going through and what we needed. I want to know your opinion. Where do you think that criteria came from? I mean, I think we can all agree that it's not healthy, it's pretty toxic. But do you think that it derived from our need to have it, or did it derive from just our own superficiality? I hope that's a word. Moving on to the second part of this interview, Scott's going to talk about an account where he actually tried to fulfill the criteria and how it made him feel. Also, we're going to touch on the importance of Black role models, specifically in Scott's life and in life in general. If you're a Black man watching this, I pray that you have a role model. If you don't, please try and find one. And if you're not fortunate enough to find one, I pray that God gives you the strength to be one for somebody else. Enjoy. I feel like there's things on that list. So it's like Black men has to be
Actually, I have kind of a funny story about that. So I remember when I say ninth grade, because another thing that's big in Baltimore, which it is in a lot of places, is just your image. Because a lot of people like kind of don't have things and don't have like material things. And growing up, I had actually a good amount of material stuff just because my father, he had a fairly good amount of money. So, but like in my later years, it was just, I wasn't as focused on that. I like the clothes that I like, but I remember I had like a couple friends who were just like, bruh, like, you don't got like no designer shit. Like, you feel me? You gotta be like flexing, you gotta be saucing, you gotta have that. So I remember I paid my cousin like $100, and I didn't even really have money like that to have like his Gucci belt that he had. That was his dad's old Gucci belt. Like that. That shit wasn't even that fresh no more. Like, but I bought it just so I can like kind of like have that image or whatever. Like,
so how
just
did you feel when you had it on?
like I felt good when I first had it, but then my cousin, like, it was weird. He didn't like intentionally rat on me, I guess, but like his mom's was wondering where the belt went and like why he didn't have it anymore, and he told her he sold it to me, and it was just kind of like he was making it seem like I was pressing it for him, but he was trying to sell it to me at first. So then it just kind of made me look like in a certain light that I wasn't comfortable with. And I remember like my older brother went off on me on that because he's like, bruh, you don't need this to be cool. Like, you don't need this to have confidence. Like, this means nothing. This piece of material, it means absolutely nothing. So that was a big lesson for me growing up, because it was like I felt pressured by my by like niggas that didn't really, you feel me? They ain't really had nothing to do with my everyday life. Like, these weren't like my close homies that was saying this to me. It was just like older niggas that I would like hang out with and stuff like that. And yeah.
Could you talk about your big brother? You talk about your dad. Did they help you in becoming what you are today and like not fitting into those, like that criteria? Like, did they help you? Did they make it hard for you? What was that?
Both of them were very big and instrumental in my upbringing and me finding my sense as a man, because both of them always allowed me to be myself, but they always taught me the things they felt I needed to be to survive as a man. Time. Yeah, and
those things?
Just, I'll say morally, like having heart and having confidence. Even though confidence isn't something that can be taught, it's something that has to like come out of you and be built. But they helped me along that journey to build my confidence. And a lot of my confidence went away after my father passed away when I was 11, and he was murdered. So and he was like really like my best friend. That was the closest person to me. So when that happened, he was the person I looked up to, like the image of a man. Like, the only thing I thought a man should be and could be was him to me. Like, I remember I heard this quote somewhere. It's like, some parents like raise you to where in the beginning, like, you look at them like as gods in the sense. And like, I like honestly looked at my dad like that, like kind of like my personal superhero and things like that. So when he went away, it was like that image of a man, I couldn't see it anymore. I wasn't around it. I couldn't feel his energy as much. So that like completely drained whatever confidence I had at 11, like going into things. And I was still doing theater and things like that, but just that those things as a man personally, it was hard to retain those. But around that time, I also started writing poetry for myself. I remember the first poem I ever wrote like for myself that wasn't for school, I wrote the day he died in my grandmother's kitchen. Because it was just like, I felt like I had to talk to him, and I didn't exactly like know how. I wasn't like super religious. I was real young, but I just asked my granny, could I get like a pencil and a paper, and I kind of like penned a letter to him. And that was like my first poem for real that I wrote for me. And through that experience, it helped me find myself. Like, through poetry has been something that has helped me to, you know, really grow into the person that I am.
It sounds like it even helped you conceptualize your thoughts and what you're going through.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because
for a while I was just talking about like political things and the way that my people were treated and men like me were treated in the communities around me, because that affected me a lot. But along the way, I started talking about more things that hit me personally, like depression and things that I was dealing with on a daily basis, just trying to like socially navigate, like maneuver and navigate through my way just in life. And my older brother, he was very instrumental in that. Going back to your question, just because as our relationship grew and we grew closer, so did just the morals he taught me. Just being able to know, if you like set a goal, to make sure you work your hardest to achieve it and don't expect anything to be handed to you. Like as a man, that's something you have to, you have to understand that everything.
Does that count as a criteria? Like, does that make more sense for a criteria than the rest of like the things? You know what I'm saying? Like, actually setting a goal and being steadfast in it. Like, what does that mean to you?
One thing he's always taught me is like superficial things aren't the things that make you manly, which took me a while to truly understand. Like I searched for a lot of validation in my life through like girls and things like that. And the girls I liked weren't the ones that liked me, I'll say. Like,
speak on it.
I was the type, because that's who I grew up with, and they were usually like the prettier ones. I'd say it was just like the real,
half the time.
Which is crazy because none of those women are really like my mother, but just the real like hood girls, or the real, even hood is like, I don't want to like say it like that because that not demeaning them, because I love those women. Those are the women, you feel me, I grew up around. But
I was just saying,
yeah.